is Rick Passek, the FlyFish Fanatic, and welcome to my tying bench. Today we'll be tying a fairly simple fly. It's a bull trout fly. I've been using this one in the rivers for many, many years. Different variations of it, different color patterns. This is my absolute go-to color pattern. It's white with some red in it. Bull trout are not the fussiest fish. Once you find them and get into their feeding zone, they're actually a fairly easy fish to catch. But the big thing is you got to get it into their zone and have the right color scheme for that day that they want. I find that white is a color that I keep going to all the time. It's one that I've done extremely well, and white with a little bit of red in it is probably my top producer over the years. But like I said, getting into the strike zone is really, really important. I remember fishing out at a river that holds some good population of bull trout. I was out there many years ago with a buddy, and we were both using exactly the same flies that I tied. He was using my flies, and I think I landed somewhere between 25 and 30 fish that day, and he landed 0. And the only reason was because I had a 3-foot type 6 sink tip and he had a floating line. So I was able to get it down really fast into their zone. He tried all kinds of things. He tried, really far upstream cast with men's and all kinds of stuff, and it just didn't go. And he didn't have a split shot or anything with him, so he couldn't get it down. It did have a hourglass eye on it, but it's still, that's what I was using as well. But it was that type 6 sink tip, so getting it into the zone, very important. So I'll switch over to the large camera here so you guys can see. So that is it's a Partridge hook that I've got in there right now. I use these. I'll also use the Mustad O'Shaughnessy saltwater hook in the larger sizes. But this is a size 2. It's a little on the large side, but it's I really like how it works. So, but that's the pattern we're going to be tying. It's nice and scruffy, but it's, again, it's fairly simple to tie. Sometimes I'll tie it with the flash in the tail. In this case, it's got the Semperfli Guara red blend in it. But the one I'm going to tie, I won't be putting that in. But again, it's a very simple fly to tie. So for the thread, I'll be using some Semperfli Nanosilk 12-aught in red. For the hook, I've got a Partridge single low water. It's kind of hard to see. Single low water in a size 2. I'm going to be using, and this is awesome stuff. I used to tie this all the time with just straight rabbit Zonker for the tail, and then rabbit crosscut for the body. Now, Semperfli came out with this amazing synthetic product. So I'm going to be using still a piece of Zonker for the tail, but I'll be using this here, the synthetic Arctic Fox, rabbit Arctic Fox Zonker. This stuff, it is unbelievable. It is so soft and supple, and because it's synthetic, it doesn't hold the water. So that's the one complaint I've always had about rabbit Zonker flies, anything to do with rabbit, was that it was so damn heavy when you cast, right? For the flash, because this is actually just this flash here is just is some dubbing from Semperfli that I've stretched out, like I've opened it up and stretched it, and it's actually this one right here. It's the fiery brown they call it, but it's a nice beautiful red. This one right there, yeah, this one. So I'll be using that for there, and then for the head here, I just like having a little bit of that UV. So I'm just using this here. This is Spectra dubbing from Hens UV, and then I will be using a hourglass eye. So you can use whatever color hourglass eye you want. I quite like the red ones. Again, I don't know if that makes much of a difference. So yeah, well, let's get on with it. So get this started. Just wax my thread a little bit. You can really crank down. I'm gonna actually just gonna get a little weird. I'm gonna turn on that light, but it'll go better in a minute. So you can really crank down on here. Again, using this Nanosilk. This stuff is, I could probably bend this hook closed. If I had the silk up here, I could probably bend this hook closed with this Nanosilk. It's so strong. So get that out of my way. Just a little bit of the thread base, just to right around the tip. Then I'm going to open wraps back up, and then right here where the step is, where it stops, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to put my hourglass eye in that I took out and probably lost. Nope, there it is. So just going to tie that in right there at that step. Couple 2-3 turns each way just to get it started. Make sure it's on. Then what I like doing here is I'll get that, like I said, a bunch of turns in. I'll start doing a figure eights. Okay, and that's pretty good. Now I will take a little bit of my crazy glue, LePage's, whatever brand you've got, really doesn't matter that much. Just gonna put that in there. Same with underneath, just to make sure these eyes don't go anywhere. There's nothing worse than being out on the water and these eyes aren't tied on properly and they start twisting on you, and then the fly starts spinning, and it's just a pain in the butt. So yeah, just get that nicely tied in, so that's good there. Okay, now I'm going to come back, and this isn't like your typical trout fly where you have to watch, you know, the streamlined body and all that stuff. So I'm going to grab my Zonker, and I'm going to cut a piece out of here in a second. Just going to figure out my length. Going to go about there. I want to go about from the eye to the bend, about that much past, like of the leather portion, right? So see that, the leather portion from the bend to the eye, and you want to leave that stuff that's past the leather. So about that, that's how far back I'm going to go. So about there. So I'm just going to cut it right under the leather, but okay. So I just cut that, and now I'm just going to sharpen that up, just make a tie-in point. So bit of a tie-in point, nothing major, just a, oops, just so it's a little bit of a tie-in point. Take any fluff off that's there, and then I'm just going to lay that down right about there, and I'm just kind of conforming it. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm kind of pushing it around, conforming it around the hook, having that point right on the top. Right? Just a loose wrap, and then tighten it a bit. Get that nice and tight, and I'm going to come back to the point of the hook. Okay? Nice and tight. Give this a bit of a spin to flatten your thread back out. Then I lift, and I go in behind, in behind, in behind, and back down again. That'll help with the fouling, so it doesn't get caught around your hook. Sometimes that happens. So I'm just wetting this just a little bit just to keep the fluff down. And again. So now you could put a little dab of crazy glue there too if you'd like. It depends on, you know, if you're in an area where you're getting really big bulls, you might want to do that because they might false hit these and pull it out. But I've caught bulls up to, I think my biggest out of the with this fly is probably around 14 pounds. So okay, so that's that. Now I'll take, again, this is a synthetic, and it's got a bit of a center, right? I'm just going to take it and just make sure I get that center and tie that down. Like I said, you don't have to get fussy here that the back end is a little thicker. You don't, believe me, you won't notice it at all. And it's really not that much thicker if you tie it down nice and tight with this nano. You won't really notice it anyway. Again, another spin to flatten it out. Come right up behind the eye. And now I'm just going to wrap this forward, touching wraps, and on each wrap I want to make sure I stroke back my material. Okay. Like I said, this stuff, I just started using this stuff, and I can tell you, wow, it is really nice. I really like how it feels. It's really soft and supple. It moves really nicely in the water, and it to tie with, it's amazing. And it, like I said, it doesn't gather all that water, right? So there, cross over. Just make sure I'm tied it in, couple 3 in front, 3 behind again, and 3 in front. Let's see, make sure I'm still focused there, because I know I just moved the camera. Sorry, the vise. So now I'm just going to nip that off. Okay, make sure it's tied in again, just half a dozen more turns there, just to make sure. There we go. Alrighty, so now I will take the Semperfli dubbing here. Let's see, where are we going here? The fiery brown, or the red here. So as you can see, when it comes out, it's quite long fibers. Whoops. You hold on to it. Quite long fibers. So you don't want a ton of them, but so I'm just going to stretch that out, and I want it the length of up to the back of the tail, roughly. And I'll just give that just tie that in right on top. Okay. And then once that's tied in, 2-3 wraps. Sorry. Just lay that other stuff back. Okay, and then take your brush, whatever kind of brush you're using, and just give that a brush out. Just to separate those fibers, to make them look like a little bit of flash, right? Now, I'll take another little tiny bit, not quite as much, and I'll actually fold this over, because I want this shorter. I mean, I can always cut it when it's on, but I just folded it over, and now I'm just going to cut that so there's no loop, just so it's all open. Actually, I can just cut it that way. And I'm going to tie this in on the bottom here, almost like a little bit of a gill, if you want to call it that. Same thing, just give it a couple, 2-3 turns, then lay this back. You want to roughly match that length, so you're just going to cut that off roughly there. Back. Okay, and again, just give that a brush to separate those fibers. Now I'm going to come back in front, and I could have actually had this eye a little bit further forward if I wanted to here. This one I did put a little bit further back than I normally would have. I would have put it usually right on top of that where it stops there. So now some of the hen Spectra dubbing, just a good wad. I want a pretty good amount here. You can do it in whatever way you like. You can just dub it on, dubbing loop, split thread. I like split thread myself, as long as I can see it. And this Semperfli, this Nanosilk is awesome for split thread. So we're doing split thread technique. So now the other way you could do this is actually, I'll just show you. I'll just put my bodkin back in here so I don't lose the split. The other way you could do it is take a material clip of whatever kind you've got, whether it's the Partridge or the Stone Foe or a dollar store, right? And you just take your dubbing, just get it all lined up. Just as if you pull it together like this, you can get it all lined up nice. And then get it into a material clip like this, and then go back. Sorry. It all depends on what you want to do, right? So you can do it in many different ways. And then just right there, just lay it in there. And now I'm going to spread that out. Okay, so that's spread out there. Give my bobbin a good spin. Let that grab. Give another good spin here, and then I'm going to actually pick some of this material out, because I want it to, like I said, I want it to. Actually, I'm just going to use my brush. I want it to be nice and long here, right? As long as I can get it. So, one last little spin just to make sure it's in there nice. We'll get that red in there. So now I'm just going to take this. That red got in there a little bit and wasn't paying attention. That's fine. So figure 8, one behind and one over top, and then a couple in front here. Okay, it's actually not quite enough yet. Just put a little bit. I'm just going to do a little bit more. This time I'm not going to use the material clip, but see if I can actually do this right now, because my eyesight's all screwed up. Just give this another counter. Spin to flatten that thread out. No, I can't see it, so that's fine. I'll just do a loose finger dub on, just a hand dub, nice and loose. That'll still allow me to pull that out. So I just want to get another bit in front here. Now, it doesn't look the greatest right now, but once I start pulling this out, it'll look fine. Give this a good whip finish. A couple of times. Cut that off. Take my brush. This one I'll use the stone folks. I think this one will be a little bit better to get in there. Yeah, see. You want to get that. You want to get that UV dubbing, that nice white UV dubbing. So that Spectra dubbing. It's really nice stuff for this. Really good. So. Just get that to lay all back. Take your brush again if you want. Just give your stuff one last brush just to make it look good. It's more for yourself than anything. So, and that is the finished fly right there. So that's it. Like I said, I like fishing these on a fast sinking tip, but again, it all depends on the depth of water you're fishing, right? If you're fishing in 15 feet, you might want a 6 or 10 foot sink tip on there. You may want in shallower waters, you might not want a sink tip, right? The hourglass eyes may do enough. The other way you can do that is you can, just going to move my light there. You can use some sticky back flat lead. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it's basically just lead sheets with glue on the back, and it's sticky backed. So then you just cut your strips and you wrap it around the body. So you can do that as an underbody as well to get a little bit more weight depending on the depth. Right? So like I said, it's a really simple pattern. It's not the prettiest pattern in the world, but I can guarantee you I've caught more on this pattern, exactly like this, with real rabbits instead of the synthetic, which I love. I've caught more on this than all of my other patterns combined for bull trout. So when this gets wet, this will really streamline, and this the red will flow, right? This red dubbing will flow really well with the tail and everything. This synthetic rabbit really pulses nicely. So yeah. So that's the finished fly. If you like that, give that a thumbs up. Let me know if there's anything else you want to see, in particular, any kind of flies, and give that one a shot. Like I said, vary the hook sizes as well. Have some longer ones, some shorter ones. This is about average. It's probably about 3 inches. I'll tie them up to about 6, and I'll tie them as short as about 2, just depending, again, their system that I'm on and stuff. So if you like that, like I said, thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you very much. And hit that notification bell, and we'll see you on the next time video. Tie lines.